I just want to start giving some recommendations. And I did my research. So, Kiora, good afternoon. I'm pleased to welcome you to the 10th Latin American and the Caribbean Higher Education Conference. Before we start, I just would like to make sure that all attendees have their microphones and cameras off during the session. We invite you to use the chat to pose your questions and comments regarding the presentation. And on your screen, you will be able either to choose to see the speaker or the gallery of attendees. Now I'm glad to welcome our speaker, Ed Tuari, who is Te Kaitohu Matua Maori, Chief Advisor Maori at Education New Zealand. Dear Ed, the floor is yours. Welcome.
Kia ora, Diana, and thank you for your guidance and greetings. E ngā iwi o te ao, e mātakitaki maina, tēnā koutou katoa. Kia ora, hola, greetings, and welcome to Kōrero Cafe. Kōrero Cafe is a Maori phrase from Aotearoa, New Zealand, that simply translates as coffee talk. Kōrero Cafe is a time to connect, to share, to learn, to participate, and more importantly, to have fun. So thank you for joining me at this time. As Diana said, my name is Ed Tuari, Chief Advisor Maori for Education New Zealand, Manapō ki te ao, and I look forward to sharing with you an insight into the Maori culture. I open Kōrero Cafe with a formal greeting and blessing in the Maori language, a blessing that brings us together to ensure that our journey through this session keeps us together as one. Tutawa mai I runga, tutawa mai I raro, tutawa mai I roto, tutawa mai I waho. Kia tau ai te Māori tū, te Māori ora ki te katoa. I summon from above, below and within and the surrounding environment the universal vitality and energy to infuse and enrich all present. Haumi e, hui e, taiki e. As you can see, you heard me say kia ora, no mai hara mai and welcome. And on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a translation of the meaning of kia ora. It can be used as a phrase to wish someone well, or to thank someone, or greet a friend, or even sign off an email. It also means to wish somebody good life and good health, and it literally translates to ora, meaning life, and kia is a future tense particle, meaning something will happen. So kia ora is a nice way to say hi and thanks, and to wish someone good health. As you know, Aotearoa is the Maori name for New Zealand, and if we break the word Aotearoa up, ao meaning cloud or bright or clear, and tea meaning white, and roa meaning long. It was one literal translation is long white cloud, although it's been commonly lengthened to the land of the long white cloud. Alternative translations of Aotearoa are long bright world, or land of abiding day, or referring to the length and quality of the New Zealand daylight when compared to the shorter days found north in Polynesia. Aotearoa, New Zealand comprises of two main land masses, the North Island, which is known as Te Ika ao Maui, and the South Island, Te Waiponamu. And there are approximately 600 smaller islands that surround or off the coast of Aotearoa, New Zealand. Maori did not have a commonly used name for the entirety of the New Zealand archipelago. As late as the 1890s, the name was used in reference to the North Island only. So Te Ika ao Maui, or the North Island of New Zealand, is known for its volcanic activity, national parks and cosmopolitan cities, home to about 3/4 of New Zealand's population. And Te Waiponamu, or the South Island, is the larger of the two major islands of Aotearoa, New Zealand in surface area. Te Waiponamu is famous for the precious pounamu, or New Zealand jade, also known as greenstone. Our founding document, Te Tiriti o Waitangi, or the Treaty of Waitangi, takes its name from the place in the North Island, the Bay of Islands, where it was first signed on the 6th of February 1840. Today, this is now celebrated as a public holiday in Aotearoa, New Zealand. It was signed by Maori chiefs, not all, from throughout the North Island of New Zealand, and at the time, the British Crown. Te Reo Maori, as stated, is currently, although English is currently widely spoken language in New Zealand, Maori and New Zealand Sign Language are both formal and have special status under the law as official languages of Aotearoa, New Zealand. People have the right to speak Maori and New Zealand Sign Language in legal proceedings as well. So 3 official languages: Maori, English, and New Zealand Sign Language. Keep your ears to the ground, simply because once we go through this presentation, there is a little bit of a twist here, or a quiz, just giving you the heads up first. We have approximately 98 Maori tribes in New Zealand who all can communicate with each other in Te Reo Maori, but what differs from tribe to tribe is the dialect. So one tribe, as an example, for the word mother, may say mama on the west coast, or down in the southern parts, the eastern North Island tribe will say koka. So apart from being able to sit in one room and communicate together, we have specific words that are tribally associated. The government has, the New Zealand government has set a goal of 1 million Kiwis to look at speaking basic Te Reo Maori, and that could range from the greetings into more formal practices. And the goal, or the objective of this, is to be reached by 2040. And this is part of the revitalization of Te Reo Maori as well. How are we doing, team? Now, like I said, we've got a bit of a quiz happening here, so you're quite welcome to, and I'm going to ask Diana to and Javiera to keep an eye on the responses for those that will respond in our chat. So here's a little quiz for you all. How well do you know New Zealand, or how well do you know Aotearoa? Does anyone know what is the total population of Aotearoa, New Zealand? Have a guess, put your answer in the chat, and I'll get one of my colleagues to respond once we go through all 5 questions. Name the 3 official languages. Number 3, how many deadly snakes are there in Aotearoa, New Zealand? Name the New Zealand national rugby team. And number 5, what is the name of Aotearoa, New Zealand's indigenous people? I'm going to have a look. Lovely, there's some great responses there, loving that. I'm going to proceed. Have a look, check the answers out, everybody. New Zealand actually hit approximately 5 million. That was in March 2020. I think they projected by this month, August, there was sort of 5.0 million at the moment. Yes, the official languages in Aotearoa, New Zealand are Maori, English, and New Zealand Sign Language. Do we have poisonous snakes in New Zealand? No, we don't, none. The official rugby team is the All Blacks, and Aotearoa, New Zealand's indigenous people are the Maori. Right, I know we had advertised that teaching how to have or to make coffee in Maori. So over the last couple of decades, Aotearoa, New Zealand has undergone a coffee revolution, and many Kiwi have become connoisseurs of this favorite beverage. The increased popularity of coffee has prompted a growth industry with new cafes and coffee roasting outlets springing up all over the country. We know that coffee making is also very competitive, with baristas vying to make the perfect cup of coffee, and coffee drinkers becoming very selective in their choice. New Zealand coffee connoisseurs will go a long way to get their daily caffeine fix, and favoured cafes can be anything from a hole in a wall or a mobile outlet just big enough to accommodate a good coffee machine and its skilled operator, to stylish venues with lounge style seating, serving gourmet treats and meals. So let's go and have that coffee that we talk about. In Maori, we have five a, e, I, o, u, and we also have five long vowels. And you will note that there is a macron over the top of the A, where the vowel becomes lengthened. I, a, e, or u. Short vowels, a, e, or u. Very similar. So I'm sure when learning or the pronunciation, it will be very easy for you to pick up. We have 10 consonants, the h, k, m, n, p, r, although it's not rolled, the t and the w. We have also the sounds of ng, makes which is what you would use in the word sing or singer, and the w is pronounced as a f, as sound. F. You're quite welcome to join me. So on we go. Phrases. So to greet someone, we would say morena, and I can hear you practicing in my right ear, echoing, or you can say ata marie. Morena meaning good morning, ata marie also meaning peaceful morning. You can also use in the afternoon, ngā mihi o te ahi ahi. Good afternoon. You can always ask, kei te pēhia tō rā. How's your day going? And of course, if I said, would you like a coffee? And you could say, ah, yes. Or you could say, kao, no. Getting down to asking, can I have? Can I have? Very simple. If you look at the first word on the right hand or the left hand of your screen, he, not he, he. Can I have? He pango poto koa. A short black, please. For those that like the longer espresso or watered down a little bit, I would say is he pango roa. A long black, koa. He pango roa koa. Or of course, the famous flat white. He mo wai koa. Let's repeat that from the top. He kafe koa. He pango poto koa. He pango roa koa. He mo wai koa. Hey, I'm liking the way you're pronouncing that. Fantastic. Different types of coffee. Half a horta, a half shot. Half a horta, a half shot. Rua horta, a double shot. Rua horta, a double shot. Once again, cafe, coffee. I would like he paku cafe. He cafe paku. He cafe paku. He cafe wainga, a medium size coffee. He cafe nui, a large size coffee. Where would you like it? Ki konekwa? Have here, thanks. Hey, heriachu, to take away. And look, so many names for the varieties of coffee, and believe you me, the one I love the most, personal preference here, is the cafe coûté. Cafe coûté espresso. Great way to start or to kickstart the day. Maori word, latte, a latte, or a cappuccino, cappuccino, a mocha, or mocha. Ratepini is the soy latte, chiacarete wera, a hot chocolate, and of course, americano, americano. Very straightforward. And then we break it into those that prefer tea, or just hot water, or maybe a milk mix. Tea translates as tea. Kapu tea is a cup of tea. Tea kakariki, green tea. Tea ingarihi, English breakfast tea. Wai wera, that's me, hot water. Wai makari, cold water. 3 liters a day, I believe. And of course, for those that that would like a little bit of sweetness, there's Haka. Miraka is milk, trim milk. Mikwe can mean hello. It's a more formal greeting, but it also can mean like kia ora, thank you. And if someone said to you, how is that coffee going? You'd say, namu, namu a. Yeah, namu, namu a. Just wondering why that's jumped. Sorry about that. And if you're about to leave your destination or someone is to leave you, you could say, ka kite anō. See you again soon. So let's go through those. Tēnā koe is the formal greeting for hi and thank you. Namu namu a means it's delicious. And ka kite anō, see you again soon or see you later. I hope that you've enjoyed just a small insight, and I'm going to throw to us, Diana, and see if there's any Q&As out there, and I'm sure we could, if there's any aspects of the presentation that you'd like me to go over. So therefore, back to the floor. I can see some questions coming through.
Thank you so much, Ed. It was very interesting, your presentation. In fact, it's very fascinating to know all of this about New Zealand coffee. And I know all of the, not impact, but the popularity that coffee has, that New Zealand coffee has. We have one question.
Absolutely.
Just, well, we're receiving some comments from our attendees. Very thanks. So the question is, how do you preserve Maori language from generation to generation?
And that's a fantastic question. Māori language became official in New Zealand in 1987, and the Māori population decided to establish language nests or early childhood centre where children would be taught their curriculum, their education in Māori. From those kohanga reo or Māori early childhood centres, they then moved either into Māori medium schools where these were are funded by the state or the government, where they have the option to learn in a bilingual setting in Māori and English, or a total immersion setting. Alongside that also are schools where we call them kura kaupapa Māori, where all curriculum subjects are taught in Māori, from maths, science, and even to learn English. They are then, an English teacher comes in to teach those students English as a separate subject. And we are fortunate enough to have those education establishments go to secondary schooling, as well as now into Māori universities. So it's been a plight, and it continues to be, given that Māori are 16% of a population of now 5 million, so that's approximately 900,000, possibly a million, to retain and to revitalize Te Reo Māori, or the Māori language.
Thank you so much, Ed. We have one more question. How can we learn Maori in Latin America? Well, that's very interesting.
Yeah, what a great question. I think one of the things that you could look at is there's, given our current global status, is that there are opportunities to learn Maori and languages online. I know that one global dance, for the want of a word, that most people contribute, or attribute, I should say, to Aotearoa New Zealand is the Haka. I know there are events that I go to and they say, do you know how to do the Haka? Which is fantastic, thanks to the All Blacks. But I think in regards to Māori language, look at some of the New Zealand providers that will provide them. They are accessible online. And if not, see Javiera. She'll get in contact with me. Kia ora.
Thank you so much. Javiera is giving you a thumbs up. We have another very interesting question, and it's regarding the Haka. So the Haka is very famous in Latin America, and we also have many questions about Haka. So what does Haka mean?
The word Haka, if you were to break it into syllables, ha means to breathe, and ka is the light or a spark of the fire. So if you look at the word Haka, it means to breathe fire or to breathe light, or it was a dance that not only was used as part of psyching up warriors before they went into battle. Haka were also composed about ceremonies or quite famous situations. They could be attributed to something political, as well as all the hidden messages used to portray messages from generation to generation, or they would be used to mark a special occasion as well.
Okay, is Haka teach at different schools in New Zealand?
Yes, it is. It's not uncommon now to see the Haka being performed by early childhood centres, kohanga reo as we refer to them. They could be in primary schools, secondary schools. It's performed at universities, depending on the ceremony. We use Haka, as I said formerly, for birthdays, to celebrate birthdays, to mark special occasions. It could be even at tangihana or funerals. It's not uncommon. It depends on the circumstance and what we're celebrating.
Okay. We have, thank you, Ed. We have another question here regarding the language. In which areas of the country is Maori language more spoken?
There has been, and that's a great question, fantastic. The rural areas are still quite high in speaking Maori. We've been very fortunate. The challenges for us as Maori, as a population, is to ensure that the language is still kept alive. As more Maori over the years have moved to the urban settings. So you've got your rural/tribal Maori, and then you've got your urban Maori, which has also been a motivation for Maori to set up language nests, language schools, to be able to retain and revitalise the language in urban setting. But definitely back in the rural areas, you would hear more Maori spoken at times. It's more common to speak in both English and Maori as well in the rural areas, in our homelands, in our hinterlands. And we refer to that as te ahika. and Te Ahika translates as the fire warmers. They keep the home fires burning for us who live in urban settings and who travel back. We're very fortunate to have those ahika to ensure that our language and culture and values are preserved. It hasn't got any easier given the impact of technology. So we've had to move with the times like very many other Indigenous cultures. But at the end of the day, practicing our values and ensuring that our language is still being maintained, retained and revitalized is definitely at our hearts as well. People do speak English, just in case you're wondering.
Thank you. In
I think
fact,
the I think the sorry, I think the beauty of it is that, like when I hear people speaking Portuguese or Spanish, is how you can just poetically flit or speak from one language into another, and it's
yes.
so natural. It's a beautiful skill.
Thank you, Ed. I was going to say that, in fact, your last response also answers one of the questions that we received because, well, Nestor says we have indigenous ancestors. I mean, he means in Latin America. I'm sorry, I'm reading. In Latin America. And some of them who are nomic. So he asked how to preserve these. So it's good that we have the case of Maori and how it has been preserved from generations to generations among New Zealanders. Another question for you, Ed. Can we explain what Hongi means, please?
Sure, the hongi is the joining of two breaths together. So by the means of the pressing of the nose. Keep in mind that Maori don't, I've heard people say, oh, a hongi is where you rub noses. Actually, we don't. We press. We use a human GPS skill where we close our eyes and certainly in some cases extend our hand to shake hands and then draw the person into your space. So hongi is the sharing of breath depending on where you go throughout New Zealand and the tribe that you will meet. Some people will hongi once, will press noses once. And I know for my people from the east coast of the North Island, we press our noses twice, usually with closed eyes. So it's a sharing of breath and coming together.
And is it common to see this type of greeting among strangers, or there has to be a familiarity or a background to greet this way?
No, absolutely. It's usually, well, given pre-COVID, is quite common. What's really interesting, I guess, is that it really, when you do meet another Maori and they extend, which most people are really can be not prepared for it. It's really about moving two personal, coming together and moving two personal spaces quite closely together through the act of greeting. But now, because of our current global situation with the COVID, we now, instead of greeting by the nose, we will just acknowledge by nodding the head, or you could put your hand across your heart and once again acknowledge or bow your head. Or there's the famous raise the eyebrow to give acknowledgement for safety.
That's so nice. Thank you so much for the explanation, Ed. There are some questions here regarding scholarships. If there are some scholarships to spread your language and customs around the world.
That's a really good question, Harvey. Do you know, I have as far as coming to New Zealand on a scholarship to learn Māori, I'm unsure of that, to tell you the truth. I'm quite happy to do some research. We do have outward bound scholarships. Specifically, we also have access to not only the 8 main universities of Aotearoa, New Zealand, that have Māori language or Māori departments. There are also who also teach STEM subjects or vocational subjects as well as the language and culture.
Sorry, I'm going to jump in here.
Please go ahead, Javiera. You're welcome.
To
and wonderful Javier.
To Nesta. Yes, you
just
say
saw
that
that.
you're interested in studying your PhD in New Zealand, and New Zealand has a very interesting package for international students wanting to do their PhD in New Zealand, where international students are treated as domestic students. So this means that the PhD is already subsidized by the New Zealand government. So it's international students pay domestic fees in New Zealand, and we are talking approximately around 5,000 New Zealand dollars per year when doing your PhD in New Zealand, which is quite reasonable considering that you will be studying in one of the countries where all universities are highly ranked in international rankings. You can bring your family as well, and if you have kids, your kids can pay as domestic students. PhD students can also work full-time while studying. The partner can also have a work visa. And once you finish your PhD, you can have a post-study work visa for 3 years. So I put in the chat our website, www.studyinnewzealand.govt.nz. So you can look there. There's a special link that says PhD package, and you can find all the information there about where to study. But all our universities will offer very comprehensive areas for studying your PhD. Our universities also have a faculty of Maori and Pacific development, but also it can be also within other faculties as well. So please join our website, and if not, we'll be more than happy to provide some information as well. So that's the PhD is treated as a scholarship itself for all international students.
Thank you so much, Javiera, and thank you to Nestor also, who's posing the question. Well, in fact, I'm very glad that we had this session on LaCheck 2020. I would like to thank a lot to Ed for this very interesting presentation. I am very looking forward to visiting New Zealand, tasting your coffee, and of course, learning more about Maori culture, which is a fascinating culture. And also, thank you so much to all the New Zealand education team for your participation and all of the contribution that you have done to LaCheck 2020. If there's no more questions, hello?
I'm here. While we do that, Diana, we'd like to, on behalf of Education New Zealand, Manapo ki te ao, we'd like to thank the LaCheck organisers and wish you all the best for the amazing event to come as well. So thank you for facilitating, Diana, and thank you to Javiera for putting up with me and taking care of me, and Bruna for attending as well. And for those that have logged into our virtual session, I thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm just looking at this comment from Nesta. Thank you, Nesta, for joining us as well. And say kia ora to your students from us here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. But before we do close this sort of kōrero cafe, our cafe session, I'd like to close with a karakia or a blessing that simply acknowledges kia tau te rangi Māori o te rangi e tuhi honei. O papa tuanuku e takoto nei, o te taiao e awhi nei, ki runga i a tātou, may the peace of the sky above, of the earth below, and all the embracing universe rest upon us all. Haumi e hui e taiki e. Keep safe, be kind, and have a great day and weekend. Kia ora
Thank
and
you.
thank you.
Thank you so much, Ed. This was just amazing. Thank you, Javiera, Bruna, Nestor. It was a very special session, a very unique session. And of course, peace be with you. Thank you so much for connecting and attending Leccio 2020. Warm regards.